नहमदुहु व नुसल्ली अला रसूलिहिल करीम अम्मा बाद फ़अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम अस्सलामु अलैकुम माय नेम इज इंजीनियर फरहान तनवीर and today we are going to present before you the lecture number 2 of CCNA 200-301 certification course. Basically it's a free course and inshallah we will try to cover all the topics of CCNA in this course. So our today's agenda is the coverage of these three basic topics, and these three topics are basic networking, then the TCP/IP model along with the OSI reference model, and third one is the data encapsulation. So I'm going to start our lecture today, and we are going to start with the basic networking. And in order to understand the concept of basic networking, let us consider a simple example in which we have two PCs which are connected through a LAN cable and they want to communicate with each other. So I'm basically taking two PCs, and the first PC is, let's say, Ali, and Ali wants to communicate with Umar, and between these two PCs I have connected a LAN cable. This cable should be a crossover cable. If you don't have the idea of a crossover cable, then we will be dealing with these LAN cabling in our upcoming lecture, so there is no need to take tension what is a crossover cable. Simply say that it is a LAN cable that is used to connect these two PCs together. Now if Ali wants to communicate with Umar, then Ali needs two basic parameters of Umar in order to communicate with him, and these two parameters are the IP address and the MAC address of Umar. So with Ali communicating with Umar, then how does Ali get to know that what is the IP and what is the MAC address of Umar? So in order to have the information of these two addresses, we have to invoke two different protocols. So Ali knows the name of Umar, and if you know the host name, then in order to obtain IP address from host name, you have the protocol NBNS protocol. NBNS is basically NetBIOS naming service, and this protocol helps you to extract out the IP address from any host name. If you have a website address, that is a URL, then in that case, in order to obtain the IP address of that URL, you need the DNS protocol, domain name service. But since Umar is not a website, Umar is basically a host, and therefore we have used the NBNS protocol, that is the NetBIOS naming service. So once Ali gets to know the IP address of Umar, now the second task which Ali has to perform is to get the MAC address of Umar, and this MAC address of Umar will be obtained from the IP address of Umar. From IP address we can obtain the MAC address of a host, and for that we use the protocol ARP. ARP is basically the address resolution protocol. In your PC you can also find out the ARP cache. If you are over the internet using your laptop or some other PC, then you have to just go into the command mode DOS, and after entering into command mode DOS, you have to just write the command ARP, then space, and then -A. So this command ARP space -A gives you the ARP cache that has been populated in your PC. So in that ARP cache, you will see that there are IP addresses, and corresponding to those IP addresses, you have the MAC addresses. That is basically the purpose of ARP protocol. So by the help of NBNS and ARP protocol, Ali has now got the IP address as well as the MAC address of Umar, and now Ali is capable of communicating with Umar properly. So this is a basic networking example, this is basic networking scenario in a nutshell. There are very details of this whole process, how the datagram is developed, and how the packet is developed, how the segments are developed, and how the frames are developed, that we will be covering in our later course. But here we have to focus on NBNS and ARP protocol. One more thing that I want to tell you about, that in order to obtain IP address from ACK, there is also another protocol that is called the RARP protocol. And RARP protocol is reverse address resolution protocol. So reverse address resolution protocol just does the opposite of ARP protocol, that is obtaining IP address from MAC. So this is a basic scenario of two PCs communicating with each other. We know that this basic scenario doesn't work in our real world environment, because in our real world environment two PCs are once in a blue moon connected with a simple LAN cable. There is a switching network between two PCs. Those are communicating with each other. So now I have to move on the second agenda of our today's topic, and that is the TCP/IP model in contrast to the OSI reference model. So now we are going to start the TCP/IP model. So first of all, we want to know that why is a model required for communication. TCP/IP model was developed by the Department of Defense USA DOD. Therefore TCP/IP model is also known as the DOD model. DOD model, Department of Defense model. Basically, we know that in the early stages of networking, the different vendors of network equipments were developing their devices solely, and there was no communication between the different networking vendors, and therefore there was a problem of compatibility. The compatibility was not found between two different companies devices. So if you were using a Juniper router, let's say, with a Cisco router, then there must be compatibility issue between the two networking devices. So in order to overcome this compatibility issue, we had to focus on simple goals, and we have to focus on similar goals, and those similar goals or those similar protocols were developed in the TCP/IP model. So you can say that TCP/IP model provides the basic networking infrastructure, or the basic networking rules and regulations that have to be followed by the different vendors equipments. So we can say that a TCP/IP model makes compatibility between the networking equipments. Secondly, I want to focus about the TCP/IP model on one other feature of it, that is, it is a layered model. What is meant by a layered model? A layered model comprises of different layers. So what is the basic benefit of having a layered approach? So layered approach basically is very useful, because you can isolate the errors, and you can edit any layer, and you can edit any protocol without having any adverse effect on the other layers or other communication process. Let's consider a simple example of a university educational system. So in our universities, we have the students, then over the student there is a class representative, and above the class representative there is the coordinator and the head of the department, and then the chairman and the deans and the vice chancellor and the chancellor. And this whole process of educational system is also a layered model, because by layered model you can achieve independence between the layers. The processes can be edited, deleted, or they can be enhanced without having any effect on the other layers. So basically the TCP/IP model has two versions. The first version is of the 4-layer TCP/IP model, and the other version is of the 5-layer TCP/IP model. So for CCNA perspective, we have to consider the 5-layered TCP/IP model. So I'm going to draw the 5-layer TCP/IP model over here. So basically the 5 layers which are used in the TCP/IP model are basically, first of all, you have the application layer. After the application layer, you have the transport layer, and then third is the network layer. Network layer is also known as internet layer. After the internet layer, we have the 4th layer, that is the network access, or many people say that this layer is basically data link layer. Data link layer. And finally the 5th layer is the physical layer. Now what is the difference between these 5 layers? These 5 layers are basically the TCP/IP model. In the 4-layer version, these 2 layers are combined and they are simply called the network access layer. So but I have told you that in CCNA perspective you have to deal with the 5-layer TCP/IP model. So at the application layer, What is the application layer? Application layer basically provides the user a GUI, graphical user interface. You are watching my lecture and you are watching my lecture through the web resource, and therefore you are at the application layer. I am also communicating with you at the application layer, because we are basically using the applications that are developed for the end users. So end users are all present at the application layer. Since there are multifarious applications and therefore different protocols run on the application layer, let's say for file transfer there are two big protocols, the FTP file transfer protocol, TFTP trivial file transfer protocol. Similarly, if you perform web browsing, then there is the HTTP protocol, hypertext transfer protocol, or the HTTPS hypertext transfer protocol secured. So there are multifarious protocols. The largest number of protocols work on the application layer because of different types of applications that are being used by user. Secondly, if you come on the transport layer, then the transport layer is basically used for end-to-end delivery between the source and the destination. From the source till the destination, this is the end-to-end delivery. Because if we have a PC that is communicating with some server, then there will be a complete network laid down between the two devices, that is the PC and the server. So this complete network, this complete communication process is governed by this transport layer. So at the transport layer you have two different options, you have two different protocols, and these two protocols are very common, and these protocols are known as TCP or UDP. TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol and UDP stands for User Datagram Protocol. I will be dealing with these two protocols in the later part of our course, but basically I want to tell you about that. If you are communicating between source and the destination in a connection oriented manner, that is, first you have developed a connection between the source and the destination, and then you are sending out your data, then you must be using the TCP protocol. And if there isn't any connection laid down before the communication process has started, that is the connectionless communication, so there must be the working of the UDP protocol. So one can say that TCP protocol is very reliable because it first creates the connection between the source and the destination, and then the data is forwarded. Whereas the UDP protocol, it doesn't make any connection, it just simply starts to forward the data from source till the destination. So there isn't any guarantee of data delivery in case of UDP protocol, but there is guarantee of data delivery in case of TCP protocol. So TCP is more reliable, but since TCP protocol creates connection before sending any data, therefore TCP protocol is a bit slow as compared to the UDP protocol, because you have to first create the connection and then you have to send your data. But there are many advantages of TCP protocol, that is, it gives you reliability, it gives you security, it gives you guarantee of data delivery, but on the contrary it is a slow protocol, and vice versa for the UDP protocol, that is, it is a connectionless protocol, doesn't provide any guarantee of data delivery, is not reliable, but it is fast. So multiple applications, I told you that at application layer there are multiple protocols. So some protocols use the TCP protocol when the data comes to the transport layer, and many protocols use the UDP protocol. But there are some protocols that use both TCP and UDP. That is, for example, if you consider the DNS protocol, DNS protocol works on the application layer. I have already told you about the DNS. If you have a URL www.yahoo.com and you want to find out the IP address of that Yahoo server, then you have to invoke the DNS protocol. DNS protocol gives you the IP address related to that corresponding URL. So DNS protocol is a protocol that works on both TCP and UDP. So this is the basic subdivision of connection oriented communication and the connectionless communication. Then we come to the network or the internet layer. What does the network or internet layer do? Basically, this is the layer where all the routing takes place. By routing, you must have an idea that it is the best path selection from source to the destination. Basically, if you are using a computer as a source and there is another computer that is your destination, so because the internet is a world wide web, therefore there must be multiple paths available between the source and the destination. So if I have a PC A and a PC B and there are 3 links available, for communication purpose between PC and PCB. Then out of those 3 links, which link will be more suitable, that is decided at this internet or network layer, and that is the basic purpose of a router, to select the best path from source till the destination. Now if we come at the network access or the data link layer, this is the layer where all the switching takes place. What is meant by switching? Switching is basically segmentation, process of segmentation. It means that, let us consider a simple example, that we have a PC and that PC is connected to a switch, and then that switch is connected to a router, and then that router is connected to another router, and then that router is connected to another router, and then that router is connected to another switch, and then switch to the final PC. So you can see that here there are segments between the main source and the main destination. The primary source is the original PC and the primary destination is that PC that is connected far away through the help of this intermediate network. So if you want to communicate on segment basis means that my PC till the first router, then second router then my router to the second router, then second router to the third router, and then third router to the PC. This segment transmission of data, that is the responsibility of this network access or the data link layer. Another thing which I want to tell you about this data link layer, that it is the only layer of the TCP/IP model that is divided into 2 sub-layers. In the data link layer there are 2 sub-layers, and those sub-layers are MAC and the second one is LLC. MAC stands for Media Access Control and LLC stands for Logical Link Control. Basically, Logical Link Control identifies which type of protocols were running on the network or internet layer, and the MAC layer, this sub-layer of the network access or data link layer, is responsible for delivering the data to the physical layer. So at this layer we have routers, at this layer we have switches, and at this layer, this is the physical layer. What is a physical layer? Physical layer identifies the physical media that is responsible or that will be carrying the data from source to the destination. For example, you can have a wired network between the source and the destination. You can have a wireless network between the source and the destination. What type of voltages will represent a binary 1 or what type of voltages will represent a binary 0, that is all decided at the physical layer. Physical layer identifies the voltages, physical layer identifies which type of waveform should be used, line encoding techniques, and what type of media, wired or wireless, will be used for transmission of bits over the physical network. So you can say that this physical layer is further subdivided into wired or wireless, and in wired you have further 2, whether copper or you have fiber. In copper you have further 2, that is coaxial cable or twisted pair, and in twisted pair you have further 2, that is shielded twisted pair or unshielded twisted pair. Twisted pair are also 2 types, STP or UTP. Whereas if we come to the fiber optics, then in fiber optics there may be further subdivisions of the type of fiber optic cable depending upon if a single light wave is traveling in the fiber or multiple light waves are traveling in the fiber. If a single light wave is traveling in the fiber, then it will be called as single mode fiber, and if there are multiple light waves traveling in the fiber, then it will be called as multi-mode fiber. So we can say that fibers can be single mode MM means multi-mode fiber, and similarly fiber can be step index and graded index. Step index, we will be dealing with fiber optics in our later course, so I will clarify the concept of single mode, multi-mode, step index, graded index, but it is there, it is step index and graded index is basically related to the refractive indices of core and cladding that is used in the fiber optics. Basically fiber optics contains 2 different types of hair-like structures. One is the very small core, and outside the core there is a cladding, and there is a difference in the refractive indices between the core and the cladding. Both core and cladding are of either glass or they are of plastic. However, we will be dealing with these topics in very much detail in our upcoming lectures. So basically this is enough concept for this lecture number 2. So in wireless you have the Wi-Fi system, you have the WiNAX system, etc. and etc. So basically this is the all concept about the physical layer. So now you should be clear that all the routing takes place at the internet layer, all the switching takes place at the network access or data link layer, and all the specification of voltage takes place at the physical layer. Secondly, one very important thing that I want to tell you about this TCP/IP model, that the numbering of the layers is not in this fashion which I have written over here. The numbering of the layers is opposite fashion: 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. That is, if someone says to you or asks you what is the layer 1 of the TCP/IP model, then you have to say that the layer 1 of the TCP/IP model is basically the physical layer. Layer 2 is the data link layer, layer 3 is the network or internet layer, and so on and so forth. So the numbering goes from 1 till 5. So another thing that you should bear in your mind about the TCP/IP model is that when you are a sender, then the data comes down from application to the physical layer, and when you are a receiver, then the data moves down to up. That is, the data is received at the physical layer. If I am a sender, then I will be developing data at the application layer. Application layer data will be coming down to transport layer, then internet data link layer, and then physically it will be converted into voltages. These voltages will be carried through wired or wireless media towards the destination, and at the destination these physical bits will be collected, and then the upward process will take place. That is, the data will be shifted from physical layer to the top layers until the application layer is reached. So basically 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 at the sender side, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the receiver side. So this is the brief idea of how the TCP/IP model works and why the TCP/IP model was used. Basically, I have told you that it was all about the compatibility and focusing on having common standards in the networking industry. So now I will be moving further in our agenda, and in our agenda we have then the OSI model. So after studying the TCP/IP model, what is the OSI reference model? It is all about basically history. In the beginning, the TCP/IP model wasn't anywhere. It all started with the OSI reference model, or we can say that it all started with ISO, International Standardization Organization, and ANSI, American National Standard Institute. These two organizations were working on a same cause, that is how to achieve compatibility between different networking equipments. And afterward they combined their work and they proposed a 7-layer model. In contrast to TCP/IP model, which has 5 layers, a 7-layer model was proposed. 2 layers were extra in the OSI reference model, and those 2 layers were present over here. These were presentation layer and session layer. These 2 layers are extra in the OSI reference model, the presentation and the session layer. I will briefly tell you about the presentation and the session layer. Presentation layer basically converts the high level language data into low level language. It performs, because we know that all the data generated at the application layer is in high level language, so one has to make the computer understand what you are trying to send towards the destination. So the high level language is converted into low level language by the help of presentation layer. Secondly, presentation layer also provides you with the capability of compressing your data, compressing your large data into smaller data. And third very important thing is that presentation layer was responsible for any encryption between the source and the destination, to secure your data, to make your data confidential, integrity, maintenance, and authentication. So these all were the basic purpose of presentation layer, but these all things are combined in the application layer in TCP/IP model. Secondly, what was the need of session layer? We know that when we are using a PC or when you are using a laptop, then you run different applications at the same time. So these different applications that are being run at the same time, these applications have data that is to be separated out from each other. So in order to separate out different application data from each other, there is a layer which is responsible for it, and that layer was the session layer. Session layer keeps WhatsApp data separate from Facebook data, Facebook data separate from any web browsing, Googling, and similarly some file downloading. So how do we keep these different application data separate from each other? That is on the basis of port numbers. Every application has its different port number, and that port number is maintained by this session layer. But all these functions that I have told you about, the presentation and session layer, these are all combined together in the TCP/IP model in the form of application layer. So that was the OSI reference model. Basically it was all about OSI reference model, but then the TCP/IP model came, and TCP/IP model won the race as compared to all those networking models that were being developed at that time. Therefore in your PC you will never see anywhere a OSI reference model. However, you will see that TCP/IP internet settings, these are present over there. So you can say that OSI reference model is only theoretical, whereas TCP/IP model is a practical model that is implemented in our today's networking equipments. Now moving to the last topic of our today's agenda is the data encapsulation. So what is mean by data encapsulation? Different applications develop the user datagram, and the user datagram is basically developed at the application layer. So at the application layer you have the user datagram. User datagram corresponds to your WhatsApp data, your Facebook data, your video downloading, your file downloading, etc. So this user datagrams now moves to the transport layer, and at the transport layer, at this user datagram, user data, a header is attached, and that header will be either of TCP, connection oriented communication, or connectionless communication, UDP. And after the attachment of this additional header, this thing will become from user datagram to segment, TCP segment or UDP segment. Now this segment moves down to the network layer, and at the network layer, before this segment, we add the IPv4 or IPv6 header. And after the attachment of IPv4 or IPv6 header, this becomes packet. Finally, this packet comes down to the data link layer, and at the data link layer, we attach two things. One is the header. This is the switching layer. Header, MAC addresses, source MAC address and destination MAC addresses will be present in this header, and there will be a trailer. So now after the attachment of header and a trailer, this whole thing becomes from packet to the frame, and finally this frame moves down to the physical layer, and at the physical layer this frame is just converted in the form of binary voltages, 1 0 1 0, whatever the format of your line encoding technique is basically. So this whole process of putting a user datagram in the form of segment by attaching TCP or UDP header, then segment is converted into packet by attaching an IPv4 IPv6 header, then converting the packet in the form of a frame by adding header and trailer. This whole process is called data encapsulation, which was our third agenda of today's topic, data encapsulation. Attaching the headers from the topmost layer to the bottommost layer, and converting your user data into finally bit format in the form of frames. This process is called encapsulation, data encapsulation. Obviously at the receiving end, the opposite process will take place. What will be the opposite process? The collection of bits, and the collection of bits in the form of frames, and then removing the header and trailer of the frame, obtaining the IP packet, then removing the IPv4 header, obtaining the segment, then removing the TCP or UDP header, obtaining the user datagram, and then finally delivering the datagram to the application layer. So this whole process will be called decapsulation at the receiving end, but at the sender end this whole process is called encapsulation. So this ends our today's lecture. I hope that you will find this lecture interesting. Kindly subscribe my channel and like and share this video to your friends also. Inshallah, we will be posting lecture number 3 related to more detailed concept of these layers and how does the connection oriented and connection less phenomena works. Till then, it is time to say goodbye. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.